Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics. First, the highlights. Nigeria Labour Congress embarks on two-day warning strike against federal government's failure to address challenges as a result of fuel subsidy removal. NLC bars entry into National and State House of Assembly election petition tribunal holding in Edo State in compliance with two-day warning strike. Plus, Rivers and Yobe state governments distribute palliatives to cushion impact of fuel subsidy removal. Warm welcome to the program. I'm Millicent Walker in Lagos. We kick off with the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC, who have embarked on the two-day warning strike today in protest against the federal government's failure to address the challenges caused by the removal of fuel subsidy. The NLC has vowed to ground the economy, as it says the stage is set for the two-day nationwide warning strike in response to the severe economic hardships plaguing the nation, a move which seems to have garnered widespread support from key stakeholders, including the banking sector, civil society organizations and workers' unions, as they unite to address the growing economic crisis in the country. The National Union of Banks, Insurance and Financial Institutions Employees, the umbrella organization representing workers in the banking and insurance industry, on Monday had vowed to take part in the strike. The Labour Union is accusing the federal government of abandoning the negotiations and failing to implement some of the resolutions from previous meetings with the government. On the 2nd of August, organised labour protested what it described as the anti-people policies of the administration of President Bola Tinubu. Meanwhile, yesterday, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Simon Lalong, appealed to the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress to shelve its two-day warning strike. Speaking at a news conference in Abuja, the Labour Minister told journalists that the federal government is already taking steps to address all the demands of organised labour, maintaining that embarking on the planned industrial action will be detrimental to ongoing efforts to reposition the nation's economy.
It has become pertinent to appeal to the leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, to suspend its intended 2 days warning strike, as such action will be detrimental to the gains already been recorded on our course to securing a greater future for Nigerian workers and citizens at large. Furthermore, I would request that the comrade leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress give this government some time to settle and address the issues on the ground holistically. It should be realized that the cabinet of this administration was only recently sworn in by Mr. President, and all cabinet members have hit the ground running. Therefore, the issues raised by the leadership of the NLC are some issues that I and the Honorable Minister of State for Labour and Employment are being briefed upon. On the issue of subsidy removal, palliative measures are already being handled and implemented, beginning with the state and the local governments. The issue of the review of minimum wage, which was promised by the President, will also receive attention so as to ensure that the Nigerian worker is not adversely affected by the challenges of the moment. Earlier, Mr. President had directed the purchase of CNG-powered buses and implementation of the policy for the conversion of petrol cars to gas as a way of reducing the cost of energy for transportation. In the course of the coming weeks, additional measures will be announced, having consulted with the leadership of the organized labor and key stakeholders.
Now let's look at how activities fared in some parts of the country. We begin with the nation's capital, the Federal Capital Territory. We understand the block housing the Federal Ministry of Education at the Federal Secretariat was earlier locked for about 5 minutes, but later opened for workers who resumed work there. Other blocks at the Secretariat remained open and workers were coming into the building for the day's activities. However, the turnout of workers for the day was low, according to our correspondent, compared to other working days. Over in Kaduna, the state civil service joined the NLC 2 days warning strike as offices were shut down. Banks and also other financial institutions in the state capital were also under lock and key in compliance with the warning strike. Over in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, there was partial compliance to the NLC warning strike at the River State Secretariat, as some civil servants were seen there, but the Secretariat gate was still open to workers and also visitors. Well, let's head to Edo State, where it was quite a unique situation there. The Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSN, prevented lawyers litigants from accessing the Edo State High Court premises. The National and State House of Assembly Election Petition Tribunal had slated today for judgment, we understand, in 2 petitions, but members of the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria ordered its members to shut down all courts in the country on Tuesday and Wednesday. The association says the action is in line with the decision of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress to embark on a 2-day warning strike over the economic hardship the Nigerians are currently facing owing to the unplanned removal of fuel subsidy by the federal government. Court proceedings have now been adjourned till Thursday, September the 7th. Well, we're staying in Edo State, but slightly away from the warning strike of the NLC. Story just in, the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Mr. Philip Shaibu, has withdrawn the suit filed at the Federal High Court to stop alleged plots by the State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, to remove him from office. In that letter, it says, arising from a series of meetings held with himself and also the governor, and including other well-meaning Edolites and other Nigerians, including party leaders, that he cannot ignore the persuasions in persons. And so he has instructed his solicitors to withdraw the suit forthwith. And he's thanking all well-meaning Nigerians, party leaders, traditional rulers for their advice and encouragement on this. So he's saying that he is taking the path of peace and taking matters out of the Federal High Court. So he has withdrawn the suit that he filed at the Federal High Court to stop alleged plots by the State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, to remove him from office. The Senate spokesperson Yemi Adaramodu has foreclosed the possibility of the National Assembly cutting down on expenses, even as economic hardship continues to trail the removal of fuel subsidy. The senator, in a chat with journalists in Ekiti State shortly after his election petition tribunal victory over Senator Abiodun Olujimi sitting in Ilorin, says the National Assembly is not responsible for any economic hardship being experienced in the country. He identifies many cogent roles, he says, including committees' works, oversight functions played by lawmakers without any allowances attached, insisting that calls for them to cut down on expenses cannot be valid.
The parliament has got nothing to do with any economic troubles, any economic topsy-turvy in Nigeria. It is not, because one is a member of the National Assembly, be it a senator or a legislator, entitled to even night allowance if he goes to perform overnight duty? No. He's a senator or a House of Assembly, any National Assembly member entitled to an official vehicle? No. He's a senator or a legislator, maybe in the House of Representatives, entitled to even mere impressed in his office? No, it is not. So where are those humongous money coming in to any member of the National Assembly? To the National Assembly? There's nothing from the National Assembly. unless if you want them to cut down, maybe they are next or they are next, because there's nothing to cut down, because one you are entitled to only an allowance that has heads.
On to other stories. In order to enhance economic development in Africa, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. George Akume, is advocating stronger regional integration, stability and infrastructure. The SGF was represented by the Permanent Secretary General Services, Mr. Shehu Shinkafi, as a guest speaker at the Course 31 graduation ceremony of the Nigeria Defence College, Abuja. He also underscores the need for regional governments to collaborate and ensure peace in Africa.
The arrival of the guest lecturer and his entourage signals the commencement of the graduation ceremony of the Course 31 of the National Defence College in Abuja. The Permanent Secretary, General Services, Mr. Shehu Shinkafi, is representing the Secretary of the Government of the Federation to deliver the graduation lecture that focuses on African regional growth and economic development. The commandant of the college lays a foundation for the conversations as he underscores the significance of regional economic growth for Africa.
A cursory look at Africa indicates that the continent is characterized by endemic poverty, low technology capacity, overdependence on imports, minimal value chain for natural resources, amongst others. It is hoped that with good economic growth plans and implementation, African countries will harness their potentials and grow their economies to be among the top 20 economies in the world with commensurate impact on regional development.
The guest lecturer begins his lecture with an analysis of the economic opportunities that abound on the continent and how to convert those opportunities to wealth.
By capitalizing on sectors of comparative advantage, investing in infrastructure, and promoting innovation and technology, African nations can spur economic diversification and lay the foundation for inclusive growth. Africa has a very big potential in agriculture, but we are yet to have that value addition. And another sector that has not been very much developed is the tourism sector, in the sense that we are endowed with beautiful sceneries and large population of wildlife.
Outside the lecture hall, the guest lecturer emphasizes the urgent need for African leaders to collaborate and address the problem of insecurity.
For us to attract foreign direct investments in our countries, within the region, and also even investments within the various countries, our countries have to be stable. There is no doubt about that. So we need to be stable, and then there has to be purposeful and good governance.
A total of 113 officers from the Army, the Police, Navy, Air Force and the Nigeria Customs Service are participating in the Course 31 of the Nigeria Defence College to upskill their managerial capabilities in their various fields of operations.
Welcome back, and we're in Kwara State, where the Governor, Abdulrahman Abdulrazak, is tasking newly sworn-in commissioners to let their projects, programs and actions reflect the current economic realities in the country. The Governor was speaking inside the State Council chamber, where he also swore in the Secretary to the State Government, 7 permanent secretaries and some commissioners.
This solemn ceremony marks a new beginning in the life of this administration as I inaugurate you as members of the Kwara State Executive Council, permanent secretaries, and members of the Kwara State Civil Service Commission and the secretary to the state government. With first subsidy gone and government mobilizing resources to stabilize the system amid rising cost of living, we are committed to helping the people cope through empathic, creative initiatives and solutions. As cabinet members and senior bureaucrats, you are to join the government and make life a lot better for the people through the design of and implementation of various policies and programs and exemplary conduct in public leadership. Neither waste, abuse, sabotage, nor intentional disregard for public good will be tolerated. Our appetite and public appearance must reflect the current realities of our country. Your choice as cabinet members and public servants is a product of wide consultation, merit, and careful consideration for public good. Endeavor to be good team players who would always collectively and individually earn the trust and respect of the public with exemplary conduct and commitment to the larger interests of our state and country.
And Channels Television is still monitoring the two-day warning strike by the NLC across the country. Let's touch base in Edo State, where our correspondent Jessica Olugbesere joins us for more. Hi, Jessica. What more can you tell us about that situation at the Election Petition Tribunal earlier today?
Okay. Hi, Millicent. The tribunal itself did not have a situation. The National and State Houses of Assembly Election Petition Tribunal is constituted of two panels. They've been sitting within courtrooms within the Edo State High Court premises. And just yesterday, they delivered judgments in two of the petitions. Now, two judgments were slated for today. And as of 9 a.m. today, when we got to the court premises, the entrance to the premises was barricaded, and stationed right outside the gate were official or members of the NLC. In particular, we saw members of the JUSUN, that is the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria. They were there, and they said they were standing there to ensure compliance with the two-day warning strike. Subsequently, the secretary of the tribunal came out to address the litigants, address parties to the suits who were waiting, parties to the petition, as well as journalists who were waiting that the judgments had been moved, adjourned till Thursday. So the judgments will be delivered on Thursday this week. One of the judgments is in respect to regarding the petition concerning the election at the Ego Ipubalha House of Representatives seat. And that was that. And then right outside there, other litigants were waiting, because it's not only the Election Petition Tribunal that would have sat today. Litigants were also waiting. Legal practitioners were waiting there to see what would happen. Now, the state chairman of JUSUN did explain that he did not have the right to give the go-ahead for the tribunal to sit, that if the national body would give that directive, it was dependent on them. So as of when we spoke with him, the directive was not to come from him. Eventually, the state chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Odiolaye, also came there to see or monitor compliance. And he explains that the body was just there to ensure that all those responsible to ensure compliance would comply. And that was it at the State High Court.
Indeed, Jessica. So we're seeing a halt ground to activities there at the court premises. But then are they confident, that authorities will accede to their request? I mean, just yesterday, the Labour Minister told Nigerians that the federal government is already taking steps to address all the demands of organized labour.
Okay, well, for the states, those here at the state level, their concern was ensuring compliance with the two-day warning strike. Note, emphasis, two-day warning strike. Going forward, or whatever happens after now will be decided. Again, one other thing they talked about was that in the meeting that was held yesterday, the national leader of the NLC was not available to attend that meeting, as it was outside the country. So he could not grant. I think the TUC pulled out of the two-day warning strike, giving the federal government 2 extra weeks to maybe look into the different issues. But for them at this time, their focus was the two-day warning strike. So that's the point they are at now.
All right, many thanks, Jessica. We continue to follow the updates across the country. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Our correspondent Jessica Olubushere there in Benin, the Edo State capital. Let's go over to River State, where the government has set out its sharing modalities, distributing fuel subsidy removal of palliatives, reaching out on political ward basis. The chairman of the committee, Desmond Akawo, says the items available for distribution are 16,800 bags of rice that were donated by the Nigerian Governors Forum, and each of the 319 wards will likely be allocated 50 bags each. He said the balance of 850 bags of rice will be shared among persons living with disabilities. He also urged representatives of civil society, faith-based organizations, traditional rulers, organized labor who are part of the enlarged committee to monitor the distribution of the food items by the council chairman at the local government levels.
As charged by His Excellency, the Governor of the State, Sir Simla Efubara, that should ensure that these materials get to the very vulnerable in our society, those down at the grassroots. And that's why today, I'm sure you'll all see that we've enlarged the number of people in this committee to at least try as much as possible to catch all aspects of our society. And one assignment we need to leave with, especially the council chairman, who are here, number one, as people who are the custodian of activities at our various local governments, and at the same time, it is easier for them to manage the logistics in terms of this distribution. But it's important to mention that today we have a list containing these 40 members of different shades. The expectation is that whatever we have collected at the state level to the local government level, you should replicate that at the local government level.
In Yobe State, the government confirmed the receipt of 2 billion naira and 10 trucks of food palliatives from the federal government. It says it's targeting 400,000 beneficiaries in the state. The deputy governor, who doubles as vice chairman of the palliatives distribution, Ide Bade Gubana, told journalists that the government has spent 1 billion naira of the state's fund in providing palliatives to the most vulnerable in the state. He also said that one of the major challenges that's slowing down the exercise is the unavailability of foodstuff in the market.
They gave out 2 billion to each of the states, pending they are working on giving out the balance of the money. They gave out about 10 trucks of maize and rice to the states, in addition to the money. The states, on our own, we have spent more than 1 billion too. The local governments, we have 170 electoral wards. We have 2,823 polling units in Yobe State, which we are targeting them direct to the polling units through the state government on fund by the local government areas. They have started distributing that. And it will come in about 5 sequences. That down to the unit. That one was being directly funded from the Yobe State government.
Ahead of the November 11 Imo State governorship election, 2 zonal socio-political groups, the Olu Political Consultative Assembly and the Owerri Zone Political Leaders Forum, have pledged to work towards the re-election bid of the Imo State Governor, Senator Hope Uzodinma. In a communique read after the meeting in Owerri, the capital, the leaders of the group explained that they have x-rayed the Uzodinma-led administration in the last 43 months and says he deserves to be supported for a second term. Both groups also accept the newly adopted Imo Charter of Equity that suggests rotation of power within the 3 geopolitical zones in Imo State.
The political leaders of our Olu Zone and the Owerri Zone today met at the residence of the national president of Ozopov, Prince Charles Ahmadi, to chart a way forward for our people. that after a thoughtful and comprehensive deliberation on issues now affecting our dear state, and which will affect it in the future, we hereby resolve that the governor has done well in his first term, notwithstanding daunting security challenges, and thus deserves another opportunity to continue the good works he has started in Imo State. We hereby unanimously endorse him for a second term of another 4 years from 2024 to 2027.
The Elders Council, in their wisdom, decided it is only proper for him to be allowed to complete his constitutional terms, more especially that he's doing very, very well.
Finally on the program, ahead of the November 11 off-season governorship election. This is in Kogi, Bayelsa and also Imo, a civil society organization. They've asked INEC to ensure results are uploaded on the INEC results viewing portal IREV. While referring to the failure to upload the 2023 presidential election results on time, the Director of Democracy and Governance of Connected Development, Mr. Emmanuel Njoku, who made the call at the media briefing in Abuja, reiterates the need for INEC to stand by its words to upload the results to IREV portal from polling stations. Well, that's lunchtime politics at this time. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Bye for now.